Hello and welcome to the School of Cloud. Today we're going to finish our third week on building and securing networks. This is a quest we started 2 weeks ago. This is the last night. Like I said, I'm Jeff Williams, the Google Tech Lead over at UC Berkeley, formerly of the University of Minnesota. Now, the quest we're working on tonight is networking in Google Cloud, and it's quest number 31. Now, that's the last of we're going to finish the last 2 labs tonight for that quest. Now, there's another lab that you can take if you want to earn a second badge. It has 5 of the labs that are in common with this quest, and there's one that's a challenge lab that'll test your skills, and that'll get you another badge as well. You can put these badges on your LinkedIn. Let's go get started. Now, here's the first of the 2 labs we're going to do. Create an internal load balancer. Okay, now I'm gonna first look down here at this image. So for internal load balancing, you use that to load balance inside of Google Cloud and not for the traffic coming from the outside. So you can scale your services behind a private load balancing IP address accessible only to your internal virtual machine instances. So we're going to set up a virtual machine that's inside of a VPC network. And then we're going to have 2 different zones. One in each zone, we're going to have an instance group with servers, and then there will be backends that will be in front of that. So anyway, all of this stuff will be set up so that we can test load balancing between internal load balancing. Okay, so we're going to create HTTP and health check firewall rules. We'll configure 2 instance templates. We'll create 2 managed instance groups, and we'll configure and test an internal load balancer. And then we'll try that out from out here in this client with this client instance. There's 100 points, and there's 3 different tests along the way to get those points. So that's what we're going to do. Now, at the beginning, okay, the main thing is just to log in. And then once we've logged into Google Cloud Console, then we'll start working on setting up HTTP and health check firewall rules. And that's what we have to do to get the first 40 points. And then we'll go on make the instance templates, instance groups, and then the internal load balancer. So I'll hit Start Lab. Now, okay, I'm not a robot. Traffic lights. Oh, those are motorcycles. I'll see if they count. Okay, hit Use Subscription when it asks. Now copy the password and then right-click on Open Google Console and choose to open in an incognito window. Now it pre-filled the username for us, which was really handy. So do that, and then come over here and paste in that password that I had you copy. Accept the terms. Okay, now if it asks you these questions, hit Agree, and then hit Continue. Okay, now we're ready to go back, see the instructions. It wants us to go and check out the network that they've created for us in navigation menu, VPC network, VPC networks. And we're going to look at the 2 subnets there on my internal app. There's another default network that has a whole bunch of stuff in it. We're going to ignore that one. And the internal load balancer is a regional service, so it has to be in the same region. And we're going to use US Central 1. And then the instance groups will be in different zones, so then our system will be immune from zone failures. Okay, so let's go check that out. So they said VPC network, VPC networks. Now this one was pinned. Normally, you'd have to scroll all the way down, always down to get to the other products like networking, stuff like that. But for now, I'll just use this. I'll hit VPC network, VPC networks. Okay, ignore that default network. My internal app has 2 subnets, just like they said, and they're both in the US Central 1 zone, or sorry, region. All right, looks like what they told us it would be. So we're going to create the HTTP firewall rule. So first they just had us take a look at what was already there. And then we're doing the firewall rule. So click the firewall button, and then we'll notice the existing rules that are there that start with app, and then we'll hit create firewall rule, and we'll follow these settings here. Okay, I'll just copy this name so I don't have to remember it later. And then we'll do TCP type 80, all right? So I'll create no, not VPC network. They wanted me to create a firewall. Scroll down, allow, and allow. Those 2 app ones, ICMP and SSH. Okay, now we're going to create a firewall rule like they told us. This one will be the one about port 80 TCP. Okay. That was about ingress. The network was my internal app. LB backend is the tag. /0 means all IPv4 addresses, which means basically the whole world. All of the different IPv4 addresses are all allowed. Okay, that all looks good. And TCP port 80. Create that. Got it. Okay, that's working. Successfully created. We didn't get the points yet, so it's still thinking about it. Now we're going to go make a firewall rule to allow traffic from the health check, the ranges where the health checks happen from. So the health checks are there to make sure that with a load balancer, you want to be able to check and see if both of the different sides are working. So those health checks connect, and if it stops working on one side, then it'll send the traffic to the other side where it's still working. So we're going to set up a rule that says allow health check, create firewall rule. And don't worry, you can always go back to the recording and pause and rewind for any of this if you want to see it slower. And then LB backend as the target. Okay, they gave us 2 IP address ranges, but there's the word and in the middle. So I'm going to copy this first one, then I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to go back. See that? Delete the extra space, hit space. That made it into this oval here. Now I'm going to copy this one, paste that in and hit space. And now they're the right format. Now there's those ovals. Okay, and it says check TCP for the protocol. So that's going to allow every different TCP service. TCP. Doesn't say which port, though. It just says that protocol in general. All right. And that's that. Wait, network. It didn't specify the network, so it's going to be the default network. And I'll hit create. Okay. Now we'll check on that. It says complete, and we got our 20 points. The other 10 should, or the other points should show up soon. Okay, there we go. 40 points. Now, configure instance templates and create instance groups. Okay, so we're going to do this quickly. Okay, compute engine instance templates. Create one, name it instance template 1 and 1 series. Okay, I can do that. So back to the navigation menu, compute engine, instance templates. create instance template. Okay, that's got the name. The series they wanted was N1. Those are older and they don't cost as much. Next, management, security, disks, networking, and sole tenancy. The name is a little out of order. It was called networking, disk, security, management, sole tenancy, not management first. So they have a little mistake in the lab, but that's okay. We can handle it. We can deal. And then click management. Okay. Now there's a bunch of options down here. Let's see what they want us to change. Under metadata, they want us to set the startup script URL to this Google storage address. So looks like the way to do that is here. Startup script URL. Paste that in. Okay, and then click the networking tab. Now networking, there's networking up there. My internal app network, Subnet A, LB backend. Network tags, I want LB backend, so I'll put that in here. Network was default. Change to my internal app. Subnet was Subnet A, right? Yep. Okay. So this is a little bit different because network is here, right? But the tags are up there. So this is a little bit different look than what they're telling us because they said under network interfaces, but I don't see nowhere in here to set that. Okay, I've done on this. I saw nowhere in here to set that network tag. Then click create and wait for it to be created. Okay. So we've got that one. Check this box and you can copy it. And that'll make another one that's just like it with number 2 on it. And then we can go and change just a few details. We're going to go and change on networking. We're going to change it instead of Subnet A, Subnet B instead. Let's see if they've got any other changes for us. Subnet B. Looks like that's the only change. Just make sure that it's instance template 2 and that it says Subnet B. Done on that. Okay. All right, create a managed instance group in Subnet A and one in Subnet B. Okay, so we'll go to the instance groups option and then click create instance group. They've got a lot of settings for us. Luckily, these are not difficult. Okay, and they're going to have 80%. Normally the default is 60, so we hit instance groups over here under compute engine. So this is all about virtual machines, by the way. Okay, instance group 1, that'll use instance template 1. And then US Central 1, 1A, yep. Single zone, yep. scale by CPU utilization. They said 60. We're going to change that to 80. They said 45, 1, and 5. Let's see, 1 and 10. Change that to 1 and 5. And change the cooldown period to 45. Okay, that looks right. 1, 1, 1, 1A, 1, 5, 80, 45. Okay, hit create. Now I want to make another one that's basically a copy of that. Once that one's done creating. So the next one will be the same, except it'll be in US Central 1B. So that first one was supposed to be in 1A. The second one's going to be in 1B. Okay, they're suggesting that we just make it. So I'll just make another one right now. So this one will be instance group 2, template 2, and that'll be in 1B zone. 5%, 80, 45 minutes, or seconds rather. Okay, create. So now 1 has been created just now and 2 is on the way. If I hit refresh, then we should be able to see it. 1 is done and 2 is on the way. Okay. Excellent. See, it's going from 0 to 1. It's starting up the first one. Okay, now we've got both of those have an instance. 1A, 1B. Perfect. They're in the same region, US Central 1, but they're in different zones. Now, if we went to VM instances, we could actually see the virtual machines that they've made. And you can see there's 2 of them so far. They've got their own external IPs. Let's see what they want us to do next. They want us to go to VM instances and notice the 2 VMs that we just created. All right. And they want us to create a new utility VM. Okay, that was in that picture up at the top when we first started in the overview. That was the one that sat kind of outside that was going to be used to test the connections to the 2 different. And that one's going to be put in zone US Central 1F. And it'll be F1 micro size. Okay, so copy that. So an N1 series F1 micro in 1F. I can do that. Create an instance in 1F, N1, machine type F1 micro. Okay, they didn't tell us to do anything else, did they? Network interfaces, edit. And then we want to set the network to be my internal app, Subnet A, ephemeral, custom, and a special IP. All right, so that'll be under networking. They didn't say change the tags though. They only said to change the network to my internal app, Subnet A, ephemeral, not automatic. We're going to use custom. And then they have a certain value that we're going to use. Okay. Done, and then create. My internal app, Subnet A, ephemeral custom. Okay, that looks right. I didn't do it yet. I'm going to test it. It's going to say no. I'll hit done and create. And then it's going to create that new VM. And I'll just start hitting check my progress and see if good. Okay, so now the internal IP addresses for the backends are 10.10.20.2 and 10.10.30.2. Let's see if that looks right. Scroll this over, 10.10.22, 10.10.32, and 10.10.20.50. Okay. Good times. If they're different, then replace them in the two curl commands below. For the utility VM, click SSH to launch a terminal and connect. And it wants us to use this IP for a curl command. So I'm going to click on SSH from the utility VM. So the utility VM is the bottom one. So I'll click on this SSH link here, and then I'll authenticate. Or not authenticate, I'll let it connect. Okay. Now I'll do a curl, which is just like a web browser. It's like a command line web browser. And I connected, and I got the address, the host name, region, and zone. So excellent. That worked just fine. Let's go back to the instructions. Instructions are over here. Now let's check the other one. Oops. And this is what my IP address was, what the server host name, instance group 1 and 2, server location, US Central 1 versus US 1A versus 1B. Excellent. So that's working great. I'm going to say client IP and server location both give us the identity of the backend. No. Oh, server host name and server location, not the client IP. All right. Now it says type exit in the window here. Now we're going to configure the load balancer. So the load balancer balances traffic between the two backends, instance group 1 and instance group 2. Okay, so it'll balance between those. Let's configure that. We're going to go into network services load balancing and create a load balancer. And then we'll start configuring a TCP load balancer. Okay, so if I just typed in, I wonder if I just typed in TCP load balancer. Documentation. Well, okay. I'm going to go over here to the navigation menu, networking. I want network services. Let's go down to networking, network services, load balancing. And I'd like to create a load balancer, a TCP load balancer. Okay, and this will be internal, so we want it to be only between my VMs. Single region. Now they've got the name and stuff over here. They want it to be called my ILB, which stands for Internet Load Balancer. Sorry, Internal Load Balancer. My Internal Load Balancer. Simple 1, and then my internal app for the network. Okay, now the back end. Instance group will be instance group 1. Okay, done. Then add a backend for instance group 2. So if it has only one to balance with, then it can't really balance. If it has 2, then it can balance between. Okay, the health check, we need to create a health check. And that health check is going to be my internal load balancer health check. Here and paste that name in. And it'll be on TCP port 80, and it's regional. And I think everything else can be kept the same. Yep. Hit save. Okay, click done, it says. There's nowhere to click done over here. We've got the check mark, so we're going to move on to front end. Okay, we're going to set up a front end on Subnet B. Okay. Front-end configuration subnet B, subnetwork. Subnet B. IP address, hit create IP address. Create IP address. Let me choose, there's a static. Let me choose static. Serve that IP address. Port number was 80. Done. Now let's review the internal load balancer, and then we'll review for that we'll review and finalize, and then review the back end and front end, and then click create. Okay, review and finalize. Central 1, Subnet B. Looks right to me. Hit create. Now I'll go back over here to the instructions, and I'll start hitting check my progress. It's still working on it. Okay, now we're at 90 out of 100 points. Now we're going to test the load balancer. So we're going to verify that my internal load balancer IP address forwards traffic to instance group 1 and instance group 2. To do that, we're going to go open that utility VM, click SSH, and then we're going to test using curl. So to do that, we're going to go and find that VM instances, utility VM, and then we'll click and connect to it with SSH. Okay, now they gave us a command to run this curl 10.10.30.5. That was the new IP address, oh good, that we had set up for that, and that connected us to, let's try it again. Oh, there we go. Once connected to A, then connected to B, and then to A, and then to A. And then A, and then B. So we're getting connections to each of them, so that's good. What do they want us to do? So now traffic is forwarding back and forth. Run it a couple more times, and we should see responses from instance group 1 and instance group 2. And congratulations. So that was an easy one. And we've gotten 100 points out of 100. So I'm going to close out this window, and I'll close out that SSH session we had. We've set up an internal load balancer that our VMs can access and that the outside world can't. Okay. Good times. And then I'll hit end lab. We've got 100 points, so you're safe to do so. And there were some things that were confusing. I'll agree with that. Okay. And that gets us one step closer to completing the entire quest we were working on. Now I've already finished this quest. That was this one here, internal load balancer. The next one, Google Cloud Packet Mirroring with an open source IDS. That one's next. Okay, now this one says it'll take an hour and 30 minutes, but it doesn't take nearly that long. For this one, they have us set up packet mirroring, and that's kind of an interesting thing. That might be all the palm tree ones. And then we're going to use intrusion detection system to watch for trouble. It's really kind of a fun one. Copy the password, then right-click, open in incognito, and then it pastes in the username for us. Hit next, paste in that password. Remember, you can watch this video later, pause it, rewind it, etc. Now this lab, we're going to do a lot more in the Cloud Shell. So open the Cloud Shell. Now we're going to be setting up, look at this. We're going to set up a compute engine, so 2 different servers, a set of web servers, and then a intrusion detection system server, and a cloud load balancer, and a packet mirroring policy. Then we'll have signatures for the intrusion detection system, and we'll have a network and a subnetwork. So that'll be kind of interesting. Oh, good, that's ready. And then we'll test out that intrusion detection system. So it'll take us a little bit of time to get all that stuff set up, but won't be too bad. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create the network called DM-Stamford. They might be trying to do a play on words about Stanford. I'm not sure. Authorize if you see that prompt. Okay, that's going to be working. As that's working, now we'll get ready to create the 2 subnets that we need, this one and that one. This one will be in US West 4, and this will be for the virtual machines that are the web servers, and then this one will be for the collector, okay, paste that, the intrusion detection system. So we've got the network's been created, and now we're creating a subnet, and then we're going to create another subnet when this one is finished. Okay, paste that. Now, when that's done, then we'll be able to check our progress. Next, they'll have us set up the firewall rules and a network address translation rule to let the intrusion detection system be able to reach out to the network, because we want it to be able to update and download the software it needs. So we've gotten to 15 points over here. So I bet check my progress is going to work, and there it goes. Okay, I'll hit copy for the first firewall rule. Come over here, paste that, and then I'll copy the second firewall rule. Paste that, and I'll copy the third firewall rule. These are all inbound rules. They say ingress and not egress. And they cover traffic like port 80 and ping, which uses ICMP protocol. And this rule allows all, and this rule allows port 22 and ICMP only. Make that last firewall rule of the 3. And pretty soon we'll get the, oh, there we go. We got the points for 2 of the 3. The next one's going to come over in just a second when that finishes creating. Now we'll make a cloud router as we wait for the last 5 points to show up. We're going to use that cloud router to make the packet mirroring rule. And a cloud NAT, so that the internal machine can reach to the outside to get its updates and such, that intrusion detection system. Because the intrusion detection system is going to be created without a public IP address to make sure it's safe from the internet, but it needs to be able to download updates and install Suricata. So to do that, we're going to configure a cloud NAT with that cloud router. Now we haven't done it all the way yet. Oh, it just finished. Okay, so that was the NAT. So we did the create a router, and then we did create the NAT rule. And we got the points, right? There we go, 20 points for that. Now we should be at 50 points. Okay, create the virtual machine. Now here's an instance template for a web server, and then we're going to create 2 of those. Paste that in. That's going to set up an instance of a Ubuntu-based Linux web server, and it's going to set up the Apache web server on there, and then it'll even add in a page, a sample page for us, a index.html page, and then it'll restart Apache to get that started. And then we'll make a managed instance group that's going to create 2 web servers, and then it'll automatically keep 2 running. And we'll do an instance template for the intrusion detection system, and then a managed instance group for that, but that'll only be 1 server, not 2 servers. So we're still waiting on that instance group. Okay, here goes the instance template for the intrusion detection, and it's going to be basically the same, right? It's going to serve up its host name, and from that you'll know that it's different. And see, it has this tag IDS, not just. Okay, next. Nope, that was what we just did. Let's see. Next, we wanted to create that managed instance group for the intrusion detection. This isn't going to get us all the points yet. Yeah, it knows the managed instance group is still left to finish. And it is, if you look down there. So we're doing okay. They only give us 5 of the 20. Oh, they were 15 of the 20. So we've got 1 step left to do, and then we're going to do our load balancer and our packet mirroring policy. Then we get to try it out, and that's the fun part. Okay, complete. Let's kick that. Test off again. Okay, now we are 20 points, so we're at 70 of 100. Now let's make that internal load balancer. So first, we're going to set up a health check. That'll be on using port 80 between the 2 servers. And we'll set up the backend server services. The load balance between those 2. Okay. Add a backend for the intrusion detection systems, the IDSs, and then a front-end rule that will collect all of the inbound traffic and route it over there so that it can retrieve it. That'll take a moment. Okay, that got us to 90 out of 100. Now we're going to install Suricata. To do that, we're going to go make a VM, or sorry, SSH into the VM that they created, that we created, the IDS VM, and then we've got a whole bunch of stuff to install. Now that could all just be one script, but they're giving us a lot of commands to copy paste. So at this point, I'm going to take that window over here, and I'm going to make it half size. And then I'll have this window be on the other side so that I can easily copy paste. So I'm going to go to Compute Engine, VM instances. I'm going to find that VM that we created. That's the IDS. That's this one here. I'll hit SSH. I'll put this window over here, hit connect. And we've got so many different things that they want us to run. I think I'm gonna, so I think what I'll do is I'll paste, combine a few. That'll do a whole bunch of the work, and then we'll do these three. So that's going to install all the different requirements that there are for Suricata. And then here we'll add the repository for it, and then we'll do an update to get kind of the list of all the things that are in the repository, and then we're going to install it. So by combining all of these together, then I don't have to copy and paste them and wait so much. I can just set them once and relax for a minute as that processes. Okay, that's done. Cool. And I didn't see any errors over there while it was running. And if there were any, we'll notice really quick here when we try to install it. I've done this lab before and had no trouble, so I don't expect that there will be any trouble this time. Okay, all that was successful. We should get version 6.0.3. See, this one was from an earlier version. Looks like. Okay, so we're in 6.03. Now we're going to stop it. I'm going to copy its config file to a backup. We're going to get a new config file and new rules that we're going to use instead of, oops, what just happened? The 2 wgets. I think I clicked down here when I should have clicked up there. So we did that. Now we'll start also copying the rules. So they've got some sample rules that we're going to use. And those rules are much simpler than the standard rules that it has, just so that we can easily test and not get too, not get mixed up or confused. That to restart it. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the simple rules that they have. I'll move it over here so it's easy to notice. They've got 4 rules. One about UDP, one about HTTP, one about ICMP or ping, and one about TCP. So this one is about when people use Google's DNS server. This one is when people ask for index.php on port 80. This one is just whenever people do ping, and then here's one whenever someone uses TCP to connect to port 6667. Okay, so we're going to test out those rules. But first we have to set up packet mirroring. So we're going to go back to the Cloud shell. So we'll move this window over a little bit, and we're going to be working over here. So I'll make this one bigger. Okay, so we're going to set up a packet mirroring policy that sends a copy of all the traffic over to the collector, the intrusion detection system. Now that that's done, I'll hit check my progress. That should get us up to 100 points. And it did. So we've got all the points we need to finish the whole thing. But they've got some testing that they'd like us to do. So to do that, let's get the list of instances over here. We need to know the public IP addresses of the two web servers. And it wants us to use the Cloud Shell as the internet client. The last time I tried that with this lab, it didn't allow me because they don't allow you to do ping. But there's the two external IPs. This one, and let's copy, paste that up here. And then one, and I'll paste that up here next to that. Okay, so I've got them two just sitting up here. Okay, so now they want us to do a TCP dump on, that's on this one. That TCP dump is going to be listening for either ICMP or port 80 traffic. And that's running. Okay. Now we're going to send some traffic there. From the Cloud Shell, they want us to send a ping, 4 pings to the public IP address of the web server 1. That IP address is this IP address that I pasted up there. But it says ping is not found. We don't have ping in here. So what we can do is we can connect from another machine. So let's see. I can go, for example, from this machine and I can connect and send a ping. Okay, 4 pings. And if I go to the machine, there we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and so that's had the request and the reply, the request and the reply. So that was what happened as a result. So we sent and received a ping. So 4 sends, 4 replies, that was 8. So that worked just fine. And but we did the test from a different host because we couldn't do a ping in the Cloud Shell. The next thing they want us to do is hit the other IP address, the one for web server 2. Now that one was this address here. Let's copy that again. So I'll ping -c4, and there that goes. Now they had us use a space. You don't need the space. It still works exactly the same without a space on that command. Okay, now next they want us to connect with the curl utility. Now that utility we do have available in the Cloud Shell. So I'm going to hit leave and we can do that. So the IP address of web server 1 is this IP address here. So we can do curl, which like I said earlier is a plain text web browser. So you can, or like a command line web browser. So curl for HTTP : / oops. In the IP address and a trailing slash like they asked us to. And that got us traffic. And then they also noticed that and the HTTP GET and whatever, all that stuff was caught there by the TCP dump. Now, if we hit the second one, it's the same, but it's another IP address. Okay, you can see that was a different server. Okay, exit TCP dump over here by hitting Control C. We captured 68 packets. Now, let's see what Suricata thought about that. Those rules, they have 4 different rules that should have been caught by the work, or that should be caught by the work we're going to be doing here. The first rule will trigger, okay, so we have to connect into one of the web servers. So do that. So this will test DNS traffic that's leaving and going to Google's public DNS server service. So we did that. Now they want us to take a look at that traffic in the event log from Suricata. Paste this in, and oh yeah, bad UDP DNS was found in the logs, and you can see there the 8.8.8.8. Next one, try to connect to port 6667. 1000, 1000. Enough. Come back over here. Now we'll look, instead for bad UDP DNS, now we're going to look for bad TCP connection. And we found the match. So they had just found the attempt to connect to that IP address on this port with the TCP protocol. Okay, now next one is a ping. We can't ping from Cloud Shell, so we're going to look at the previous pings that we already created. There should already be some of these in here. Yeah, from the pings we did earlier. So we've already got matches on that. So we don't need to retest it right now. And then to check this index.php one, there we can go from Cloud Shell and we can connect to the public IP one. That's going to be this 55 one. We just need to add to it index.php. Okay. And that was not found, but that's fine. The thing we were testing is the rule, not the rule that's looking for that. That would be that HTTP. And that rule doesn't care if it worked or not. That rule just cares if someone asked for PHP, for the PHP version of an index page. Right here, see this /index.php on port 80. And that was on port 80. TCP protocol asked for that. So bad HTTP PHP request was the rule that was triggered. And with that, we finished it. We already had 100 points. And look at that. We've got, we only took 24 minutes. Okay. And that's still true. The comment from last time. And now we can close out some of the windows. So thanks, everybody. Hope you learned something and had some fun. It might not take only 24 minutes for you. Don't worry about it. Just take the time you need. You have a whole hour and a half to learn this and to use this. So I hope you learned something and hope you found tonight helpful. Thanks again for attending the School of Cloud. Now check out some of our other videos, and see you back next time.